relax. Everything will come to you at the right time, but you must truly understand what that means, not just in words, but in the stillness behind the words. You see, life is not something to be chased after, not a prize at the end of a race. It's not something out there waiting for you to arrive, panting and exhausted, to hand you some long-awaited reward. No, life unfolds, and like a flower, it blooms not because it is told to, not because it is forced, but because it simply is. So too are you. You're not here to force the tide, nor to push the stars into position. You're here to notice, to listen, to feel, to observe how the wind moves through the trees and how the river flows, without questioning where it's going. There is a dance to existence, a rhythm. And just like music, you cannot rush to the end of the song to enjoy it. The beauty is in the unfolding, in the waiting, in the space between the notes. When you chase, you are declaring something very important, that you are incomplete, that what is meant for you is somewhere else, always slightly out of reach, always just around the next corner. You become the one who is never home, never present, never still. But when you understand that what is yours cannot miss you, and what misses you was never yours to begin with, you begin to rest. Deeply, softly, truly. Now, this doesn't mean you stop acting. This doesn't mean you abandon all effort. What it means is you no longer act from desperation. You act from alignment. You act not because you must, but because you are moved, like the sun rises not out of obligation, but out of its nature. You act from your nature. And in that state, your actions carry power. Not the noise of panic, but the silence of certainty. We are so obsessed with clocks and calendars. We bind ourselves to seconds, minutes, and deadlines as though they are divine. But nature doesn't know your schedule. The tree does not bloom because the date has arrived. It blooms because the conditions have ripened. And so must you, and so will your life. The love you seek, the opportunity you long for, the peace you crave, it will not come when you demand it. It will come when the soil of your being is ready to hold it. See, the universe is not withholding anything from you. It is not punishing you with delay. It is preparing you with patience, teaching you how to be the kind of person who can hold what is sacred without breaking it, teaching you that you must become the vessel before you can receive the water. And that process, my friend, takes time. Imagine trying to pluck a fruit that is not yet ripe. It may look tempting, but bite into it and you find bitterness. But if you wait, if you wait, you will find sweetness you could never have imagined. So too with life. Some things must simmer. Some things must be allowed to take their own shape. And in your waiting, you are not doing nothing. You are becoming. There is a reason why some doors remain closed for a while. Not to frustrate you, but to protect you. Because what behind that door is not ready for you to be there, but it will be. And more importantly, so will you. Let go of the urge to constantly measure your life by how quickly things are coming. That measurement will deceive you. A tree that grows fast is not always the strongest. A flame that burns bright may not burn long. Real growth is silent. Real transformation is slow. Real life, life that is whole, that is deep, is not urgent. It breathes. It waits. It trusts. So breathe. Sit in the middle of your becoming and rest in it. Life is not late. It is simply moving at a pace that honors your becoming. Trust that what is aligned with your spirit is already on its way to you. Not with noise, not with chaos, but with grace. When the time is right, the door will open, and you will know. Not because you forced it, but because everything inside you says, this is the moment. And you won't have to run to it. You'll just step into it, like you are always meant to. Chasing is born from the illusion that something vital is missing from your life, that happiness, fulfillment, love, success, these things exist somewhere beyond you, and your role is to strive endlessly toward them. This belief, while common, creates a deep restlessness. It gives rise to an inner tension that whispers, not yet, every time you attempt to feel peace in the present moment. The irony is that this very act of chasing, this inner compulsion to pursue, becomes the very thing that blocks what you're seeking. Because when you chase, you do not believe. You affirm that what you desire is not here, and so you place it farther and farther away from yourself. Think of how water behaves. Try to hold it tightly in your fist, and it escapes. Try to grasp smoke, and it slips through your fingers. In the same way, the essence of life, the flow of it, is not meant to be captured by force. It is not meant to be conquered by striving. It is to be joined, harmonized with, moved with, like a dancer with music. You don't chase music, do you? You surrender to the rhythm. The more you chase something, the louder you tell the universe, I do not have it. And the universe listens to your state of being more than your words. You might affirm abundance, but if your being is frantic, desperate, and scattered, it echoes scarcity. It reveals a mind that believes it must run endlessly toward a goal, because if it stops, it will be left behind. But the truth is, everything you seek is seeking you. But it cannot find you in chaos. It finds you in stillness. It finds you when you become a quiet space. Most people live in resistance to this stillness. They've been taught that only those who hustle, push, and grind succeed, that to rest is to fall behind, that to trust is naive. But these are myths born from fear. There is a difference between inspired movement and compulsive action. The former arises from alignment, feels like a pull from within, like a wave you are surfing. The latter feels like thrashing against the current, exhausting yourself in an effort to force what is not yet meant to be. The first builds, the second breaks. If you observe nature, you'll see no anxiety in it. The tree does not try to stretch faster. The moon does not rush across the sky. The bird does not flap its wings in panic, wondering whether the wind will carry it. There is no desperation, no hurry, no self-doubt, and yet nature accomplishes everything. It creates beauty, abundance, and balance, all without ever chasing. Why then do we think we must do otherwise? The art of not chasing is not about doing nothing. It is about tuning into the natural intelligence that is always at work within you. It is about realizing that life responds not to noise, but to frequency. And your frequency is highest when you are not grasping, when you are in a state of receptivity. That is when things begin to flow to you. not because you chased them down, but because you became a match to them. Imagine a magnet. It draws things toward it by what it is, not by what it tries to do. It simply exists in its own field, and through that field it attracts. You too are a field. Your thoughts, your emotions, your expectations, they are not passive. They are active forces, shaping what moves toward you and what moves away. When you chase, your field is clouded. It signals to life, I am not hurt. And life, reflecting you back to yourself, brings more of that unwholeness. To relax, then, is a radical act of trust. It is to say, I do not need to strive. I need only to become. And becoming is not a frantic act. It is a deep, quiet unfolding. It is like the rose that opens in the morning sun, not because it is told to, not because it fears being left behind, but because that is its nature. That same nature lives in you. But you cannot access it through panic. You access it through presence. Presence is not laziness. It is awareness. It is the subtle alertness of someone who is fully here, not distracted by fear, not consumed by what's missing, but available to life as it is. And when you are truly available, life begins to respond, because what you are seeking is often waiting just outside your fear, waiting just beyond your need to force it. When you stop running toward it, you begin to meet it. This is why the people who seem most at peace often find themselves receiving more than those who exhaust themselves with effort. They are not passive. They are not disconnected. They are simply in tune. They move when it's time. They rest when it's time. They let go of the idea that life is a ladder to be climbed and instead see it as a river to be floated. And what they find is not delay, but divine timing. When you stop chasing, something magical happens. You start hearing. You start noticing. You start catching the signs that were always around you, pointing you gently toward the next step. But when you are running, you are blind. You trample over guidance. You miss the whispers of intuition. You forget that the very thing you want is not a destination, it is an experience. And experiences happen now, not when you've done enough, not when you've earned it. Now, so when you find yourself grasping, stop. When you feel the panic rise because things are not moving fast enough, pause. Return to your breath. Return to your being. Ask yourself, am I chasing something I am meant to allow? Am I trying to prove what already is? And then listen, not with your ears, but with your spirit. Because in the silence that follows, you may find that what you were trying to capture was never meant to be chased. It's only waiting for you to stop running. There is a reason nature doesn't wear a watch. It doesn't need to. The intelligence that moves the planets and brings the tide knows exactly when to act and when to rest. In the same way, the events of your life are governed not by the pressure of your impatience, but by the quiet unfolding of the right moment. The idea that something must happen now, that it should already have arrived, is born out of a misunderstanding of timing. Human beings have created clocks and calendars to organize their lives, but the soul knows no such constraints. The soul moves in rhythm, not in seconds. It doesn't speed up because you are anxious. It doesn't bend to the will of your frustration. It unfolds exactly when it must, no sooner, no later. When you look at a seed, you may not see what it is becoming, but beneath the surface, miracles are at work. It may appear motionless, stuck in the dirt, hidden from sight, but it is changing, It is softening, reaching, expanding. Its roots are grasping for the unseen nourishment of the earth. It does not panic. It does not ask the sun to rise sooner. It simply trusts the process, even in darkness. And one day, it bursts forth into light, not because it tried harder, but because the time had come. So many people give up just before their moment. They grow weary in the waiting, not realizing that waiting is part of the process. You don't rush the sunrise. You don't demand that the moon climb the sky faster. You watch it. You marvel at it. You know it will come. This is how you must learn to treat your own unfolding. There is a season for everything, and your season is sacred. Even the moments that feel still, lifeless, or slow are not wasted. They are preparing you, shaping you, realigning your inner world so that you are not just ready to receive, but ready to sustain what is coming. The right time is not determined by external standards. It is not marked by comparison or competition. It is determined by readiness, by the invisible alignment between your inner frequency and the external opportunity. You cannot force this alignment. You can only live in such a way that it is invited. And how do you invite it? You relax. You surrender. You trust that the timing of your life is orchestrated with more wisdom than your mind could ever comprehend. When you try to force things, you interfere with that wisdom. You take the reins away from the deeper intelligence that sees the full picture and attempt to guide with your limited view. It's like opening the oven every minute to see if the cake is done. In your impatience, you ruin what is being beautifully baked. But when you wait, when you allow the unseen to do its work, you are met with something rich, whole, and right, something that does not need to be fixed or fought for. It simply fits. It feels like peace. And that is how you know it arrived at the right time. There's something deeply beautiful about trusting the timing of things. It takes a kind of wisdom that is not loud. It takes an inner maturity that doesn't need constant proof or validation. It is the wisdom that says, just because I can't see it doesn't mean it's not coming. Just because I don't have it now doesn't mean I never will. It is the strength to walk with patience in a world that demands urgency, the courage to be still while others race. Often the reason things take time is not because the thing itself is far from you, but because you are still growing into the version of yourself that can truly receive it. Life is not punishing you. Life is protecting what is sacred. And sometimes that means saying not yet. Sometimes that means closing a door, not to reject you, but to reroute you. Sometimes it means silence, not because you're forgotten, but because the soil is being turned, the roots are being deepened, and the foundations are being laid. Because when the time comes, there will be no doubt, no forcing, no begging, just a quiet click, like the right key turning in a lock. You begin to notice this divine timing when you stop measuring your life against others, when you stop letting anxiety make your decisions, when you stop asking why not now and start whispering, I trust what's unfolding. That shift is subtle, but it changes everything, because life listens differently to those who trust it. Life moves differently for those who do not demand, but align. You no longer chase after things as if they're running away from you. You begin to magnetize them, not through effort, but through your being. through your peace, through your deep, sacred patience. When the timing is right, you won't need to knock down doors. You won't need to manipulate outcomes. You will be met. You will be welcomed. You will find that things come together in ways your logic could never have predicted. You will look back and see how every delay was divine, how every closed door was an act of mercy, how every moment of waiting was filled with hidden growth. And in that reflection, you will thank time. You will thank the very thing you once cursed. This is the art of surrender, not giving up, but giving in to the rhythm of your becoming, letting go of the urge to control the clock, trusting that your life is not behind, not late, not broken. It is perfectly on time, just like the sunrise, just like the tides, just like the blooming of the flower that waited all winter to open in spring. That's the kind of timing you were born into. One that doesn't rush, doesn't panic, one that knows exactly what it's doing, even when you don't. Desperation is a frequency. It may not be visible to the eye, but it can be felt in every word, every action, every thought. When you operate from desperation, you do not see the world as it is. You see it as a battlefield where something must be won, or else something vital will be lost. Your mind becomes cloudy, filled with scenarios, deadlines, fears, and assumptions. You start thinking that if you don't act now, if you don't speak now, if you don't grab onto this moment, it will disappear forever and leave you stranded in some dark corner of regret. But the truth is, desperation doesn't attract blessings, it repels them. It sends a signal that you are out of alignment with the very peace that would welcome in what you're chasing. There is a vast difference between moving from inspiration and moving from panic. Inspiration is a calm wind that gently lifts you. It feels like a whisper, guiding your next step. Panic, however, is a storm that blinds you. It makes you forget your worth, abandon your wisdom, and compromise your energy. When you move from peace, you attract clarity. When you move from desperation, you attract more confusion, more noise, more misalignment. It becomes a loop. You try to fix something with the same energy that broke it. You look for answers while carrying the very vibration that blocks them. Imagine walking into a room looking for something precious, but the light is off and you're frantically throwing things around, hoping to find it. In that chaos, you miss what was lying right in front of you the entire time. You overlook the obvious because your mind is trying too hard. But if you simply turned on the light, if you allowed stillness to guide you instead of fear, you would see that what you seek is closer than you think. Desperation shuts the light off, peace turns it back on. You have been conditioned to believe that urgency equals productivity, that the louder your efforts, the faster the results, that you must always be doing, fixing, adjusting, pursuing. But the soul doesn't work that way. The soul reveals itself in the quiet, in the unforced moment, in the breath between thoughts. And when you are peaceful, even for a moment, you give the universe a signal. I am ready to receive, not from panic, but from presence. I am ready to listen. I am no longer trying to force the outcome. I am preparing the space for it to arrive naturally. When you calm your inner world, something changes in the outer world too. People respond differently. Circumstances begin to open up. New pathways are noticed, not because they suddenly appeared, but because you finally slowed down enough to see them. Peace is not passive. It is incredibly powerful. It's not that peaceful people don't act. It's that they don't act from fear. They don't carry the frantic energy that says, I need this now or I'm nothing. They carry the energy that says, what is meant for me already knows the way. Desperation often masks itself as ambition. It tells you to keep pushing, to do more, to hurry up and catch up with everyone else. But underneath that ambition is usually a fear of not being enough, a fear of being forgotten, a fear of missing the chance. And fear is a poor compass. It points in all directions and calls them urgent. You end up chasing opportunities that don't suit you, accepting relationships that don't honor you, and saying yes when your soul is begging you to say no, all because you're afraid that if you don't take this, nothing else will come. But peace, true peace, allows you to say, if this is not for me, something better will find me. It lets you release your grip without losing your hope. It reminds you that life is not something to conquer, but something to collaborate with. When you relax into peace, you begin to understand that life is not withholding anything from you. It's just waiting for you to become the person who no longer tries to manipulate outcomes, but learns to welcome alignment. Desperation begs. Peace invites. Think of a child learning to walk. They do not panic with each step. They don't berate themselves for falling. They simply rise again, trusting that walking is possible because they've seen others do it. They are not in a rush to become expert runners. They are content with progress. But somewhere along the way, we lose that innocence. We replace trust with pressure. We forget that mastery doesn't come from fear. It comes from quiet confidence. This is why some of the most impactful moments in life happen not when you're rushing toward them, but when you're still. When you're not demanding, but allowing. When you're not rehearsing your response, but listening. That stillness creates space for something deeper to emerge. Answers, direction, clarity. And when those things come, they don't arrive with a loud knock. They arrive like a breeze through an open window, subtle, undeniable, and always right on time. The energy you carry matters more than you think. You may speak all the right affirmations, but if you carry them like a shield against your own anxiety, they won't land. You may smile, but if it's masking fear, it shows. Life responds to your essence, not your performance. So you must ask yourself, what energy am I living in? Am I pushing from fear or flowing from trust? Am I operating as someone who is lacking or someone who is ready? Desperation screams lack. Peace declares readiness. When you are at peace, you become magnetic. You stop chasing, and things begin to gravitate toward you. Not out of obligation, but because they match your state. You find that the conversations you need happen without being forced. The people who are meant to walk with you show up without manipulation. The opportunities arise not because you clawed for them. Let go of the lie that peace means inactivity. It means presence. It means taking action when your spirit moves, not when your fear panics. It means learning to trust the pauses in your life, not as signs of failure, but as sacred space where deeper alignment is taking place. Desperation may have gotten you some things in the past, but it never gave you peace. And anything that costs you your peace is too expensive, no matter how shiny it looks. So breathe. Let the storm within you settle. Remind yourself that you do not need to earn what is already meant for you. You simply need to stop pushing it away with the very energy that says you're not ready. Choose peace. not just as a feeling, but as a frequency. Live there, move from there, speak from there, and watch how everything changes. Not all at once, but perfectly in time. Waiting is one of the most misunderstood parts of the human experience. It is often seen as a void, as nothingness, as wasted time. People treat waiting like a punishment, something to be endured with clenched fists and gritted teeth. But that idea couldn't be further from the truth. Waiting is not a pause in life. It is part of the rhythm of life itself. Just as music needs silence between notes to be music, your life needs waiting to become meaningful. Waiting is not an absence of activity. It is a different kind of work. It is the unseen labor of the soul, the quiet shaping of your character, the deepening of your roots beneath the surface while the outside world sees no movement at all. When you are forced to wait, something profound is happening beneath the noise. It is in the waiting that you begin to hear the deeper voice inside you. It is in the stillness of waiting that you are confronted with your truest thoughts, your hidden fears, your rawest desires. And this confrontation is not meant to break you, it is meant to refine you. Because the truth is, what you're waiting for is not just preparing to meet you, you are also being prepared to meet it. You are being shaped into the person who can hold the very thing you've been longing for without losing yourself in the process. Most people don't see it this way. They feel the ache of delay and interpret it as rejection. They assume silence means denial. But what they fail to understand is that life in its wisdom does not rush divine timing. A seed doesn't bloom because you dig it up every day to check if it's growing. It blooms because you let it be, because you trust that its unfolding is taking place even when you cannot see it. And so it is with you. The moments that feel still, uneventful, or stagnant are often the most sacred. They are the moments when your soul is being matured, when your understanding is being stretched, and your patience is being carved into wisdom. There is no wasted time in the life of someone who trusts the process. Because even the slow moments, even the detours, even the disappointments are not random. They are necessary. They are the fires that burn off what no longer serves you. They are the rivers that carry away your attachment to timing and control. They are the mirrors that reveal what you still cling to and what you must let go of. And through it all, you are being transformed, not through effort, but through surrender. This is why the waiting season feels heavy, because it is doing invisible work. It is chiseling away at impatience, insecurity, and doubt. It is shaping your inner foundation so that when the blessing arrives, you don't collapse under its weight. Life is not interested in giving you what you ask for if you are not yet capable of carrying it with grace. So it waits, it watches, it whispers, not yet, but soon. Waiting is not a weakness. It is a sacred invitation to trust. And trust is not passive. Trust is choosing to stay present when your mind wants to run ahead. Trust is choosing peace in the face of delay. Trust is waking up each day without evidence, but still preparing as if your answer is coming. It is believing that every delay has a reason, even when that reason is still hidden. It is knowing that what you are becoming in the waiting is just as important, if not more important. See, many people want the prize, but not the preparation. They want the promise, but not the process. But life is not a vending machine. You do not insert effort and immediately get results. Life is a garden. You sow, you water, you wait, you trust. And one day when the season is right, something sprouts. Something breaks through. But not because you forced it, because you honored the process, because you stayed. That's what waiting really is. A test of your ability to stay rooted in faith when logic fails, to stay grounded when the winds of doubt blow hard, to stay aligned when everything tempts you to abandon your path and settle for less. And in staying, you grow. In staying, you build endurance. In staying, you gain something that can never be taken from you. Inner strength. There will always be a temptation to abandon the waiting season, to take shortcuts. My friends, there is a subtle art to living well, and it begins with something most of us overlook: relaxation. We are taught from childhood that success requires strain, that happiness must be earned, that peace is something waiting for us at the end of our struggle. Yet in reality, life works the other way around. The more you push, the more elusive peace becomes. The more you chase, the further luxury runs from you. Consider the river. It does not strive, it does not hurry, yet it nourishes the land and carries ships across the world. Or think of the tree. It stands rooted, calm, patient, and still it produces shade, fruit, and beauty without ever forcing the process. Luxury and peace, too, flow to us when we learn this rhythm of effortless being. We misunderstand luxury as a matter of possessions, when in truth it is an atmosphere, a state of inner richness. Peace is not something we manufacture through control, but something revealed when we release control. Together they are not goals to be hunted down, but gifts that arrive naturally when we loosen our grip and allow life to unfold. You see, the paradox is this: the more desperately you seek peace, the less peaceful you become. The harder you strain for wealth, the more impoverished you feel. But when you relax, truly relax, trusting the intelligence of life itself, peace arises like a calm dawn, and luxury appears like blossoms in spring. Tonight I invite you to set down the burden of striving, for what you are chasing is already moving toward you. Luxury and peace are not rewards at the finish line. They are companions that join you when you dare to be still. Luxury as a natural byproduct is one of the most misunderstood truths of human existence. For most of our lives, we are trained to see luxury as the result of effort, ambition, and relentless striving. We are told to work hard, to climb the ladder, to sacrifice the present for the sake of a future reward. And yet, if you look closely at life, you will notice that the greatest forms of abundance do not come through struggle at all. They come through alignment. They come when we are in tune with the natural rhythm of things, when we allow life to flow instead of constantly interfering with it. Think of the flowers in a meadow. Not one of them wakes up in the morning and decides it must prove itself worthy of blooming. It does not push, it does not grind, it does not compare itself to the flower next to it. And yet, given the soil, the sunlight, and the rain, it opens effortlessly into beauty. Its fragrance fills the air without trying. Its colors attract bees without advertising. It simply is, and in its being it becomes luxurious. In the same way, luxury in human life is not the consequence of endless effort, but the expression of a deeper harmony. When we are at ease with ourselves, when we stop chasing what we think we lack, we begin to notice how much life already gives us freely. The laughter of a friend, the taste of food, the warmth of the sun, all of these are luxuries. They cost nothing, and yet they are priceless. The irony is that when we start to appreciate these natural luxuries, the material ones often arrive as well, because we are no longer approaching life from a state of lack, but from a state of fullness. Chasing luxury, paradoxically, pushes it further away, for to chase is to affirm that you do not already have, and life has a curious way of mirroring back to you what you believe about yourself. If you live from a sense of poverty within, no amount of outer wealth will satisfy. If you live from a sense of abundance, even the smallest gift feels like treasure. Luxury, then, is not something earned, it is something allowed. It arises naturally when we are aligned with ourselves, when we have ceased the endless war against the present moment. This does not mean laziness, nor does it suggest passivity. The river flows because it is moving, but it is not forcing. The bird sings because it is alive, not because it must achieve. There is activity in life, but it is activity born of rhythm, not resistance. When we engage with life in this way, acting with ease, working with joy, giving without fear, we discover that prosperity seems to follow us uninvited. People appear with opportunities, doors open when least expected, and life feels as though it is conspiring on our behalf. Luxury, in this sense, is not only material, it is spaciousness. It is the ability to sit quietly without the mind nagging you about what you lack. It is the freedom to enjoy a cup of tea as if it were a feast. It is the recognition that peace itself is the finest luxury available to human beings, and it costs nothing. Once you realize this, you stop turning life into a desperate race for more, and instead allow more to come to you of its own accord. The trouble with our modern conditioning is that it confuses accumulation with abundance. We believe that piling up possessions will make us feel rich, but very often it makes us feel imprisoned. True luxury is never about ownership. It is about relationship, our relationship to the moment, to nature, to ourselves. A person who can walk barefoot on the grass and feel alive may be far richer than one who sits surrounded by gold but feels numb inside. When you let go of chasing, you make space for receiving, and the universe, it seems, delights in filling empty space. It brings you people who nourish your soul, experiences that expand your heart, and opportunities that match your essence. This is why the most luxurious lives are often lived by those who have stopped trying to impress, who are content to be themselves, who understand that wealth is not measured in numbers but in presence. To relax into life is to recognize that you are already part of something infinitely abundant. The earth did not charge you for the breath you just took. The stars do not send you a bill for their light. The ocean does not demand payment for its waves. Life itself is extravagant in its generosity, and when you see this clearly, you begin to trust that you too are included in this abundance. Luxury is not something added to life, it is woven into the very fabric of existence. Therefore, the question is not how to obtain luxury, but how to stop resisting the natural luxury that is already flowing. It is not about building a dam to capture the river. It is about stepping into the stream and letting it carry you. To relax, to breathe, to trust, that is the beginning of true wealth. And when you live this way, you find that luxury, both inner and outer, comes to you not as a prize, but as a natural byproduct of being alive in harmony with life itself. Peace as the foundation of wealth is a truth often overlooked in a world that glorifies speed, ambition, and constant striving. People imagine that peace will come once they have secured wealth, as if calmness of mind and spirit is the final luxury to be purchased after all the hard work is done. Yet, if you look closely, you will see the opposite is true. Peace is not the result of wealth, it is the soil from which wealth grows. Without peace, wealth becomes fragile, temporary, and endlessly unsatisfying. With peace, even the simplest life feels abundant, and greater abundance flows naturally. Consider the individual who has everything money can buy but cannot sleep at night. Their mind races, their heart is restless, and their possessions provide no refuge. Contrast this with the person who sits quietly under a tree, content with little, whose mind is steady, whose heart is calm. Who is truly wealthy, the restless millionaire or the peaceful wanderer? Wealth without peace is emptiness dressed in glitter. Peace, on the other hand, transforms even the smallest comforts into treasures. Peace is a kind of inner wealth that cannot be stolen. When your mind is clear, you are able to see opportunities more easily. When your heart is at rest, you are more open to connection and generosity. And when your spirit is grounded, you naturally attract people, resources, and experiences that resonate with your calmness. Life, after all, is not drawn to desperation but to balance. Just as birds are drawn to still waters, prosperity is drawn to the peaceful heart. Peace allows you to move through the world with clarity instead of clutter. Think of a lake. When its surface is stormy, you cannot see through to the depths. But when it is calm, the bottom is visible, the reflection is perfect, and the beauty is revealed. Our lives are much the same. In a state of inner peace, we see clearly what path to take, what relationships to nurture, what actions to avoid. Wealth in the form of money or opportunities arises not from frantic searching, but from this quiet clarity. So many people attempt to buy peace. They book vacations, they purchase luxury items, they seek distractions to quiet the mind. Yet all of these are temporary bandages, never addressing the core issue. True peace does not come from anything external. It comes from within. It is the natural state of the mind once we let go of the compulsive need to control everything. When you trust life instead of wrestling with it, peace arises on its own. And from that state, you realize that wealth is not something to be hunted down. It is something that grows naturally from your grounded presence. The great irony is that peace is often mistaken for weakness or passivity. Yet the most powerful people are those who remain calm under pressure, who act without being ruled by panic, who see beyond the immediate storm to the larger horizon. Peace is strength. Peace is clarity. Peace is the foundation upon which meaningful wealth can stand. Without it, any wealth accumulated will crumble like a house built on sand. If you examine nature, you will notice this truth repeated everywhere. A tree grows strong not because it is constantly in motion, but because it is deeply rooted. Its stillness is its power. From that stillness it receives nourishment, and from nourishment it produces fruit. Likewise, peace is the root of human abundance. It anchors you, it nourishes your spirit, it allows your actions to bear fruit without strain. When you are at peace, you do not feel compelled to prove yourself. You no longer operate from fear or insecurity. Instead, you act from wholeness. And this wholeness communicates itself silently to the world. Others sense it in you, they trust you, they are drawn to collaborate, to support, to share. Wealth is not merely the gathering of resources, it is the quality of relationships and the flow of energy between people. Peace ensures that flow remains unbroken and genuine. Imagine approaching your goals not from desperation but from calm certainty. Imagine making decisions not from anxiety but from a place of quiet confidence. That is the difference peace makes. It transforms the very quality of your actions and therefore the quality of their results. Strained action produces strained results. Peaceful action produces results that last. Ultimately, peace reveals that wealth is not outside of you but already within. When the mind is peaceful, you realize how rich you already are, rich in breath, in awareness, in the miracle of simply being alive. From that recognition, outer wealth begins to feel like a natural extension, not an urgent necessity. Life meets you where you are, and when you are at peace, it gives you more reasons to remain at peace. Peace is not something you wait to achieve after you have everything you want. It is the foundation upon which everything you truly desire can grow. To cultivate peace first is to secure wealth that no market can shake, no circumstance can steal, no loss can destroy. Peace is the greatest luxury, and from it all other luxuries flow. The futility of chasing is something we all discover sooner or later, though often after exhausting ourselves in the pursuit. From the earliest stages of life, we are conditioned to chase success, chase approval, chase happiness, chase wealth. We are told that fulfillment lies just around the corner, that if only we strive hard enough, if only we move quickly enough, we will finally catch what we seek. Yet the curious thing is that the more we chase, the further away the prize seems to drift, as if running ahead of us, laughing at our desperation. Chasing is at its core an admission of lack. To chase something is to declare that you do not have it, that it exists somewhere outside of you, separate and apart. But here lies the paradox: the very act of chasing strengthens the feeling of absence. If you are chasing love, you feel unloved. If you are chasing wealth, you feel poor. If you are chasing peace, you feel restless. Life reflects this back to you, not out of cruelty, but because your energy, your state of being, is the magnet that draws your experiences. A mind that is chasing affirms lack, and lack is precisely what continues to show up. Think of the child who tries to catch a butterfly. The more she runs, the more the butterfly flutters away. But the moment she stops, relaxes, perhaps sits in the grass quietly, the butterfly may circle back and land gently on her shoulder. This is the rhythm of life itself. That which you desperately chase escapes, and that which you allow naturally comes closer. The universe responds not to your effort, but to your state of being. When we chase, we often forget the present moment entirely. Our eyes are fixed on some imagined future in which we will finally be whole, finally satisfied. But the future is always ahead of us, and when we arrive at it, it becomes another present, and the chase begins again. This endless cycle ensures that peace and fulfillment are perpetually postponed. We live in a state of almost there, but never quite arrive. The futility lies not in the goal itself, but in the very method of pursuit. This does not mean that effort is unnecessary or that goals have no value. The point is not to abandon activity, but to abandon desperation. There is a profound difference between moving toward something with calm intention and chasing it with restless need. When you move with calm intention, you are rooted in a sense of sufficiency. You already feel whole, and your actions are an expression of that wholeness. When you chase, you act from a sense of incompleteness, hoping the outer world will fix what feels missing inside. The first path attracts naturally, the second path exhausts endlessly. Consider relationships. How many times have you seen that when someone clings too tightly, begging for love or approval, the other person pulls away? But when someone is relaxed, confident, at ease with themselves, love flows toward them effortlessly. The same applies to wealth, success, and opportunities. The energy of chasing repels, while the energy of contentment attracts. The futility of chasing lies in its very design. It keeps the desired object just out of reach. The truth is that most of what we chase is already present in some form, waiting for us to notice. We chase happiness while ignoring the simple joys around us. We chase wealth while overlooking the abundance of what we already have. We chase peace while refusing to let go of the thoughts that disturb it. What we are looking for is not absent. It is simply unseen because our eyes are fixed on the horizon instead of the ground beneath our feet. To stop chasing is not to give up, it is to wake up. It is to realize that the running itself is the problem. When you stand still, when you breathe, when you allow yourself to inhabit the present moment fully, you discover that much of what you sought has been here all along, and what is not yet present begins to move toward you, drawn by the space you have created in your stillness. Think again of nature. Does the river chase the ocean? No, it flows naturally, and the ocean welcomes it. Do the flowers chase the bees? No, they bloom, and the bees arrive of their own accord. Life is not built on desperate pursuit, but on harmony, attraction, and timing. When you learn to mirror this rhythm, you begin to experience a different kind of wealth, one that does not exhaust you but sustains you. So the invitation is simple: stop chasing and start trusting. Trust that what belongs to you will find its way. Trust that peace and luxury are not prizes for the exhausted runner, but companions for the still traveler. When you chase, life becomes a desert of mirages. When you relax, life becomes a garden of abundance. The futility of chasing is that it blinds you to what is already here, while the miracle of letting go is that it reveals that everything you need is already flowing toward you. Life's natural generosity is something we easily forget because we are so accustomed to measuring abundance in terms of effort, achievement, and control. From the moment we wake, we are told that everything valuable must be earned, that nothing comes without struggle, that the world is a scarce place where one must fight for every scrap. Yet if we pause, if we take a long look at existence itself, we discover that life is not stingy at all. On the contrary, it is overwhelmingly generous, pouring out gifts in every direction moment after moment without asking anything in return. Consider the simple fact of your breath. Each inhale is freely given, each exhale released without debt. You did not manufacture the oxygen in the air. You did not design your lungs. You did not negotiate with the universe for the privilege of being alive. Life simply breathes you moment after moment without fail. Is this not generosity? Or think of sunlight streaming endlessly from a star 93 million miles away, touching every leaf, every river, every face without discrimination. Did you pay for it? Did you prove yourself worthy of it? No, it comes whether you notice it or not, whether you are grateful or indifferent. The very fabric of existence is woven with this quiet, effortless giving. Trees do not hoard their fruit, rivers do not ration their water, and the earth does not withhold its soil. In every corner of nature, life gives of itself freely. Flowers bloom not for recognition, but simply because blooming is their nature. Birds sing not to be rewarded, but because song is woven into their being. When you look deeply, you realize that generosity is not an occasional act in life, it is the essence of life itself. Existence overflows. The illusion of scarcity is largely created by the human mind. We create systems of possession, measurement, and comparison, and then we forget that these are inventions. We act as though life itself is limited because we have drawn lines on a map or stamped numbers on a coin. But before all of this, the earth has been spinning, the rain has been falling, the seeds have been sprouting. Life has never stopped offering itself in abundance. Scarcity is a mental construct. Generosity is the reality of being. When we attune ourselves to this natural generosity, something shifts inside us. We stop approaching life as a battlefield where every gain is someone else's loss, and we start to see it as a dance, a flow of giving and receiving. This recognition dissolves anxiety. You no longer feel that you must fight tooth and nail for every blessing. Instead, you begin to trust that blessings are already on their way, carried by the same rhythm that moves the tides and the seasons. Life, in its vast intelligence, knows how to provide. This does not mean we sit idle, expecting everything to fall into our laps. It means that we work in harmony with the current, not against it. A farmer does not force the rain, he plants his seeds in trust that the rain will come. A sailor does not command the wind, he raises his sails to catch it. In the same way, when we align ourselves with life's natural generosity, our efforts are amplified, supported by forces far beyond our individual power. The universe meets us halfway, and often more than halfway. Generosity also lives within us because we are not separate from life but expressions of it. When you give freely, whether a smile, a kind word, or a helping hand, you are not performing some noble act of self-sacrifice. You are simply participating in the flow of life's abundance. And here lies another paradox. The more you give, the more you realize how much you already have. Generosity is both the recognition of wealth and the generator of it. It confirms your place within the great circulation of existence. Luxury in this light is not something you must conquer or accumulate. It is what arises when you recognize the overflowing generosity of life and allow yourself to be part of it. Peace, too, is born of this recognition, for when you see that life itself is constantly giving, what is there to fear? What is there to desperately grasp? You realize that you are supported, that you are not abandoned, that existence itself is on your side. Look again at your daily life with fresh eyes. The glass of water you drink is the generosity of clouds. The meal on your plate is the generosity of soil, rain, sunlight, and countless unseen hands. The body that carries you through your day is the generosity of generations of life before you. Everywhere you turn, generosity surrounds you. The only question is whether you notice it, whether you trust it, whether you allow yourself to rest in it. When you live in awareness of life's natural generosity, the endless hunger of chasing begins to fade. You no longer measure wealth only in coins and possessions, but in moments of beauty, in connections of love, in the simple joy of being alive. And strangely, when you stop clutching so tightly, the material luxuries often come as well, flowing naturally like fruit from a well-nourished tree. Generosity begets generosity in life. Seeing your openness continues to give. To live in alignment with this truth is to live without fear of lack. It is to move with trust, to give with ease, and to receive with gratitude. And in this flow, luxury and peace do not arrive as distant goals, but as natural companions, already walking beside you, already flowing from the infinite generosity of life itself. Detachment from control is perhaps one of the greatest lessons a human being can learn, and yet it is the most difficult to embrace. From childhood, we are taught that control is power, that to shape and dictate every detail of our lives is the only way to succeed. We are taught to grip tightly, to manage outcomes, to plan meticulously, to bend life to our will. And yet, life continually shows us that it is far too vast, far too mysterious to be confined to our plans. The more we cling, the more anxious we become, and the more we release, the freer we feel. Detachment from control is not surrender to chaos, but alignment with a larger order, one that does not depend on our restless grasping. Think of trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips through your fingers. But if you cup your palms gently, the water remains. Life is like that. Control creates resistance, and resistance creates suffering. Gentle openness allows life to remain with you, to nourish you, to move in its own way without escaping your awareness. The great paradox is that by letting go of the illusion of control, you discover a deeper sense of harmony, one that control could never provide. Control is rooted in fear, the fear that if you do not manage every detail, life will betray you. But detachment is rooted in trust, the trust that life knows how to unfold, that there is an intelligence far greater than your individual plans. Consider the seasons. You cannot command spring to arrive early or prevent autumn from falling. Yet every year, without your control, they arrive in perfect rhythm. The same intelligence that turns the earth, that moves the tides, that births and dissolves galaxies, is also present in your life. To detach from control is to align with this intelligence rather than resist it. So often what we call control is nothing more than the attempt to protect ourselves from uncertainty. We cling to rigid plans, rigid identities, rigid expectations, hoping they will shield us from the unknown. But life is change, and change will always break through the walls of control. Detachment is not the denial of uncertainty, it is the embrace of it. It is the recognition that uncertainty is not the enemy, but the very space in which new possibilities are born. When you let go of control, you make room for surprise. You make room for grace. You make room for outcomes you could never have imagined with your limited vision. Think of the times in your life when things did not go according to plan, and yet what arrived was better than what you had envisioned. Perhaps the job you lost led to a calling you truly loved. Perhaps the relationship that ended opened the space for one that nourished your soul. Life's wisdom is often hidden in its detours, and detachment allows you to see those detours not as failures but as redirections toward deeper alignment. Detachment from control does not mean passivity. It does not mean that you sit back and do nothing. It means that you act fully, with intention and clarity, but without demanding that the result conform exactly to your desire. It is like planting a seed. You water it, you care for it, but you do not dig it up every morning to check if it has grown according to your timetable. You trust the process, and in that trust, growth happens naturally. The desire to control often comes from the ego's belief that it is separate from the flow of life. The ego insists, I must do everything. I am alone. But detachment reminds us that we are not separate at all. Just as the wave is not separate from the ocean, you are not separate from life's unfolding. The ocean does not need the wave to control its movement, and life does not need your constant interference to keep flowing. When you recognize this, you feel lighter, as though a heavy burden has been lifted from your shoulders. With detachment comes peace. Anxiety is born of trying to predict every outcome, of imagining disasters if things do not go as planned. But when you release control, you see that life has carried you this far without your management. Every heartbeat, every breath, every sunrise has happened without your command. This recognition dissolves fear. You begin to live not as a manager of existence, but as a participant in its dance. Detachment also transforms relationships. When you try to control others, their choices, their feelings, their paths, you suffocate them and yourself. But when you let go, when you allow others to be as they are, love flows more freely. True love is spacious. It thrives not in control, but in freedom. The same is true for your relationship with life itself. When you demand that life give you exactly what you want, you block its greater gifts. When you let go, you open yourself to receive more than you could have asked for. In the end, detachment from control is an act of faith, not blind faith, but living faith, grounded in the evidence all around you that life knows how to live itself. The rivers do not need your instructions, the stars do not need your strategies, and your own heart does not need your control to keep beating. The invitation is simple. Release the grip, soften your hands, trust the flow. What is meant for you will not pass you by, and what is not meant for you will fall away no matter how tightly you hold on. Detachment from control reveals a deeper truth, that peace and luxury come not through force but through flow. When you stop dictating and start listening, when you stop gripping and start trusting, life shows you its natural generosity. You discover that you were never in control to begin with, and far from being terrifying, this realization is liberating. For it means you are free to dance with life instead of wrestling with it, to receive instead of demand, to live instead of merely plan. Living in the present moment is perhaps the most profound form of luxury, though it often goes unnoticed because our minds are so busy running ahead or looking back. We are trained to treat the present as merely a stepping stone toward the future, something to be endured until we finally arrive at a better place. Yet that better place never comes, because when the future arrives, it is simply another present moment, and the mind once again looks ahead. In this endless cycle, peace and abundance remain forever postponed. To truly live is to realize that everything you have ever sought, joy, love, meaning, luxury, and peace, exists only here, only now. Consider how much energy is wasted on the past. We replay old mistakes, regrets, and lost opportunities, carrying them like heavy stones in our memory. Or we project endlessly into the future, anxiously calculating what might go wrong, fantasizing about what might go right. In both cases, we are absent from the only place where life is actually happening, this moment. The past is gone, the future is not yet here, and the present is the only reality. When you return to it even briefly, you discover a richness that chasing past or future can never offer. The present moment has a kind of silent abundance. The simple act of breathing can become extraordinary when you actually feel it, the air entering and leaving, the chest rising and falling. Drinking water with full awareness becomes a luxurious act, a communion with life itself. Looking at a tree, listening to the sound of rain, feeling the warmth of another's hand, these are treasures hidden in plain sight. The trouble is not that luxury and peace are absent, the trouble is that we are absent. To live in the present does not mean to neglect responsibility or abandon dreams. It means to bring your whole self to whatever you are doing now. If you are working, be fully with the work instead of worrying about tomorrow. If you are resting, allow yourself to rest without guilt. If you are with a friend, let the moment of connection be complete without distraction. The richness of life multiplies when you stop treating the present as a means to an end. Peace is inseparable from presence. A mind that is endlessly moving cannot know peace, no matter how much wealth or success surrounds it. But when you settle into the now, peace rises naturally without effort. This peace is not something you construct, it is always here, waiting beneath the noise of thought. By stepping into the present, you step into the silence that reveals itself as contentment. Luxury, too, takes on a new meaning when seen through presence. We often think of luxury as rare or expensive things, but true luxury is the ability to fully enjoy what you already have. A meal eaten in haste is ordinary, but the same meal eaten with attention becomes exquisite. A walk taken with the mind elsewhere is routine, but the same walk taken with presence becomes a journey through a living, breathing miracle. Presence transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary, and this is the deepest form of wealth. When you are present, life stops rushing past you. You are no longer chasing after moments or clinging to them as they slip away, you are immersed in them. This immersion dissolves the fear of missing out, because you recognize that nothing essential can be missed if you are truly here. Everything you need is already contained in this moment. The mind may tell you that you must hurry, achieve, acquire, but when you stop and look around, you see that life is already enough. Presence also loosens the grip of control and chasing. If you are here now, you no longer need to grasp at the future or rewrite the past. You can let both rest because you realize that the fullness of life is not in them. The present is complete, it lacks nothing. The search ends not by arriving somewhere in time, but by sinking deeply into this eternal moment. Living in the present is not a technique to be mastered, but a remembrance, a returning. It is remembering that you are alive now, not yesterday, not tomorrow. It is remembering that existence itself is the gift, that awareness itself is the treasure. And when you remember this often enough, you find that peace and luxury are not things to be pursued, but realities that have always been here waiting for your attention. So the invitation is simple: slow down. Notice your breath. Notice the ground beneath your feet. Notice the sensations of being alive. In doing so, you step out of the illusion of scarcity and into the truth of abundance. The present moment is not a waiting room for life, it is life itself. To live it fully is to receive the greatest wealth there is.